Hey guys, and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and finally some more Baldurs Gate. Patch 7 is coming at long last, and even earlier than we originally thought. It's dropping, quote, next week, as announced by Sven Vinkt at PAX during the retrospective panel. That happened over the weekend, so we'll see what next week really means, whether that's the current week we're in now, ending on the 8th, or the week starting on the 9th. So it could drop today as I'm making this video, or sooner or later, but it's very soon in any case, and that's good to finally know. Patch 7's a big deal though for the game, and its life from here on. That's because a leading source for new content to enjoy is going to be community support with the cross-platform mods that's a colossal effort by the dev team to get working and even approved. With that effort in mind, they have announced that patch 7 is launching for PC players first this week, but then Mac and console in the hopeful near future. There's a lot to say about that, but just to give you context of where this news is coming from, the hype that's happening at this time, it's because multiple events happened recently. Larian themselves were at PAX with this panel, but also there was the recent Dragon Con where multiple of the character actors were together on the stage. It is just nice to see the team together in any way, and I really hope we see more from them in the future, whether that's with Larian or together on different projects. But yeah, it was separate events. So the panel itself was a retrospective on the game and the work that went into it, before and after. It's certainly an interesting chat, especially if you're fans of their process, but ultimately they didn't give us any new information about their upcoming projects or anything like that. It was just a fun and interesting talk with the big patch 7 announcement. So on the topic of patch 7 and the modding, like I said, it's launching first for PC. They're expecting a lot of issues with the patch itself, and they're going to try to iron that out in the lead up to the console launch. On the bright side, that should hopefully result in a smoother console launch for the system, but unfortunately, it does mean they've got no idea when it's going to be. There is no date or estimated timeline. If you're a console player, that might come as bitter news then, but I do think it should be taken with kind of a bigger picture look. Console support to this level from modding, and cross-platform even, is not a normal thing in console gaming. Modding on PC might be normal, but what they're doing is going beyond that to make it a better joint experience for everyone. A huge task that they simply didn't need to do, they weren't really expected to do. They're just doing it because they know it'll be good for the game and the players and the life of the game long term. So while it definitely sucks it's going to take more time for console launch, it's still a big deal that it's even happening, and we know that they're going to be working on it as best as they can. What we can expect from it is vaguely known but very exciting. There is indeed a non-public version of patch 7 where they've been testing it for some time, working directly with community modders that have expressed how good it is to work with Larian in this way. We have heard that overall it results in a much smoother modding experience for the player, tied to Larian's own mod manager we'll be using in-game, where before you'd need to faff around with third-party websites like maybe Nexus Mods, make sure everything's running with each other and manage it, yeah, probably again with a third-party mod manager on top. So I guess the idea is to make all of that very smooth for someone that wants to try modding, have it running and working no problem minutes after you see a mod you're interested in. The concept of mods in this way though should open a new life for the game, since for many there's a lot of people who don't normally mod. I like the idea of it myself, I've done it with many different games, but I do often avoid it because of the effort involved, but also the fear of messing something up. Patch 7 will open that up to people not quite versed in the topic to make it more streamlined and easy. You'll be able to enjoy concepts like new outfits for fun, but also new content like classes and subclasses, races you wouldn't otherwise get. Maybe you want to go beyond level 12 or be in a bigger party like 5 or more. You could make significant difficulty increases for hardcore players, or just classic stuff like new weapon types, spells, instruments, just more customization and quality of life before Larian can even think of it. If it's a working mod then it should be available through the smoother patch 7 systems, but it isn't just that. We'll run down the main details of patch 7 and what you can be excited for as a reminder then, but outside of the big deal that is Larian's mod manager that will let you browse, install and use mods created by the community, it's the modding toolkit that's a big part of that. Through that toolkit then, you'll be able to make mods yourself, or at least make changes to the game. Like I said, they've been working directly with current popular modders during that closed alpha and now beta to provide the support to make this possible. Now I can't pretend I know how it all works obviously, but from what I've read from the modders working with them, and in general, it's a big deal they're not taking from the modders here. They're directly involved in the process, and with that we're no doubt going to get a better result. And I know that sounds obvious, right, to work with the modders, but other big companies don't really do that, and they certainly don't provide anything to them. Mostly they charge big percents on whatever they make. So Larian is a real diamond in the rough, is all I'm saying. Anyway, the toolkit won't be limitless, and I imagine modding to real depth will still be done by many in third-party ways, but it should make things a lot easier for those that already do, or people that might want to try it. So using this toolkit, you're able to change or create items like armors, weapons, consumables, that kind of thing, mess with the cosmetic side of things, even down to various textures, create new versions of classes, or mod the current ones by editing their abilities, powers, and skills. Maybe you create new races entirely, or add fun stuff like dice skins, mess with the UI, add new quality of life for yourself. So it appears to be a very user-friendly way to alter your game. And I think it could even be like the gateway drug, as it were, for many new modders in the future. That's an awesome concept. So between the mod manager for running community mods and the toolkit to mess with the game yourself, I think there's going to be a lot of new content made by the community in the coming days. Now, outside of that big deal, there's the new content being added by Larian. Stuff like the new evil endings, which are just new cinematic civilian style playthroughs. That of course includes new stuff for the Dark Urge, but it's evil playthroughs in general with your own characters. We've heard that there's been a good amount of updated writing for different dialogue options and even new narrator lines for Dark Urge in regards to the evil playthrough stuff. So it's going to be nice to have that side of the game more fleshed out, and it'll certainly be a good time to try the evil side of things if you never did. Now, a big part of the update will also be to do with the origin characters, various changes and bug fixes, key improvements. Many consider Will a kind of neglected origin character compared to some of the awesome stuff you do with others, so hopefully playing as Will will have a bit more spice to it after this patch. They call it heaps of fixes for Will though, improving his dialogue, especially in regards to romance scenes. They also mention you can have way more chances to kiss Will if you're like romancing him in the epilogue, if you're hoping for that. But there was a lot of bugs happening with Will in unintended ways, so it should be better for Will in general. They also highlighted stuff for Asterion like improved facial animations or Lae'zel with different idle animations in the camp, but various ones were singled out like Karlach, Gale, Shadowheart. Certain spoiler scenes are going to be improved, and yes, more bug fixes. They're all getting more idle animations in general, so subtle stuff's going to be noticeable as you play. If you play in multiplayer though, party banter is going to be improved. It was more limited to single player before, but after patch 7, you're going to hear that banter in multiplayer between the characters assigned to different players, bringing a bit more life to your kind of passive moving around the world. Speaking of which though, multiplayer, there's the revamped split screen gameplay coming. Split screen lets you cut up the screen for either player to see what they're up to on one screen. That separation is nice when you're in different areas and, you know, not limited to a certain distance from one another. But this means you're cutting up half your screen, and that limits your field of view a lot. When you come together for combat, for example, that can be a big point of issue. So with this update then, they're adding this dynamic effect. So it's when the players move near to each other, the screen can merge into a single one that you're both looking at. Perfect for when you're both in the same spot during puzzles, trapped areas, slower moments, fights, and so on. Just a simple concept, but applied well will be surely appreciated by the players who use that. There's also the honor mode combat updates coming. Basically, they're adding more to the unique mechanics of this mode. More legendary actions for different named characters, like Malice Thorm, the surgeon. He's getting a new action called Grasping Appendage, but also various named Gith or enemies like the Bullet. The Bullet will have a new condition called Diamond Scales, alongside its new legendary action, Shredding Scales. Dror Razglin is going to be able to use an entirely new spell called Arachnic Compulsion. It sounds like if you put him in the pit with the spiders, he's going to be able to rally them to him to actually help him fight you. But yes, it sounds like there's going to be lots of new additions to this mode for different enemies across the board. If you like custom mode though, they're actually finally allowing honor mode mechanics in the rule set options there too. They've also added a lot more support in the final battle. Different factions you engage with, like the Kuatoa, the Fishmen, they'll actually support you in that final fight if you know you got them to. The Gondians, by comparison, they'll actually send a Steel Watcher now, that type of stuff. And in patch 7, we're going to get lots of little stuff like UI updates, new upscaling options, new UI for reactions, meaning we don't always have to choose do not react when we don't want to over and over. Controllers have better equipment menu support. Gale will now be able to eat your magical boots from the Traveler's Chest, not just what you've got on you. We've got new art for Act 3 loading screens. They've been messing with armor clipping to make that better. Lots of just quality of life stuff. Like one massive detail is that you're going to be able to mess with your eyebrow color even if you've chosen the bald hairstyle. Really exciting stuff, guys. So yeah, patch 7 is a big deal, and it should breathe in a lot of new life for the game, beyond just, hey, new stuff in an evil playthrough. This is a big event in a sad way too though. That's because major patches don't happen often anymore, and this is meant to be the last major patch they've announced, at least for some time. We still expect hotfixes in the future, the smaller updates for bug fixes and function. There's been an impressive 25 of those so far, and yet there'll still be more. But I think it's major patches like this that bring people back to the game again. We've seen lots of new content through these, and big moments like the epilogue when that was added, and the character actors who came back together physically to record all of that. Modding support in the way they're doing it though will mean the game never truly ends. It's just going to be up to the players to create the new stuff and engage with it from here. On the bright side though, we still have new features coming, like the photo mode, the long-awaited crossplay itself, and smaller updates. But they're calling it the quote, final handover moment, where Larian are handing it off to the team that's going to maintain what we have now, rather than, you know, develop new content. So patch 7 is kind of bittersweet. It's been over a year of incredible post-game support at this stage. It's easily one of the best games I've ever played, with some of the most memorable characters and journey in general. The free additions they've been smashing out over that year, never really expected and certainly not required. But now that's officially ending, I'm just grateful for it. Larian still have 2 major projects already announced that have been underway for some time, and while that's still certainly far away, we know that they plan to release their next game well before another 6 years pass again. So whenever that happens, I think a lot of us are going to be checking it out. Anyway, I'll be back very soon to cover more patch 7 information and news in the coming days as it drops, and the following details from that. Until then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thank you for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.